Hello, my name is Mr. Mendoza, and today we'll be going over 1.2, which is two-step equations. We've done one-step equations, and so now we're going to get an extra step. Again, make sure that you, in your notebook, this information is going to go in your notebook. Make sure that we do the Cornell note template, the topic, the essential question, leave room for the, for example, I can show you here. What I'm looking for is I want you to leave room in your notebook for questions. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you how the template should look like. So if you have your notebook, okay, up here we'll put the page number. This will be the topic. This will be the EQ, the essential question. That'll go here. The topic goes there. And then, again, on the side, you leave room for questions. Okay? And then here is where you'll start with the first thing. Okay? So this is the template that I'm talking about. So as you record this onto your notebook, we should be following this template for your notebook. Okay? Feel free to pause the video at any time to make sure that you stay caught up. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the essential question and then the objective. So objective 1 is to use 2 or more steps to solve an equation. Okay? 2 or more steps. Okay? So I guess we're going from 2 steps maybe to 3. So we'll see. Okay. Keys to successfully solving multi-step equations. Okay? This is important. So maybe underline this or highlight this. Number 1 is simplify one or both sides of the equation when possible. Okay? So when you have an equation, right, and you have stuff on each side, try to combine like terms. Try to make it look clean before you move on. Number 2. Number 2, use inverse operations to isolate the variable. Okay? So again, we talked about our last notes, our last video, what the inverse operation is. It's an operation that undoes a mathematical operation. So if you have an addition property, right, which is adding a number, what's the inverse of that? What's the opposite of adding? What's the inverse? Right? It's subtraction. If you're multiplying, right, what's the inverse? Right? The inverse of multiplying is dividing. Okay? So that's what inverse means. Okay? And then what's new here is the reciprocal. So the reciprocal, you might have heard in the past, it just means if you have a fraction, it's the opposite of that fraction. So here we have the definition, so I would go ahead and make sure that we use this, remember this. And we have an example here. If a fraction is going to be a over b, what's the reciprocal? Well, the reciprocal is going to be the inverted. Again, it's inverted, hence the inverse. So to undo a fraction, right? To undo a fraction, you do the inverse. What's the inverse of a fraction? It's called the reciprocal. A lot of us play video games, and you have your remote inverted. I did that one time, and I'm a mistake. I was playing a video game, and I would push up, and the remote would maybe go down. If I was flying a plane, or if I was aiming my gun in Call of Duty, or Fortnite, or whatever, and I had to change the settings, okay? So simply just remember this word, the invert, right? It's the inverse, it's the opposite. And specifically to this guy, okay? That's going to be challenging. This is probably one of the most challenging steps we're going to be doing here is the reciprocal, because it's new and it's challenging, okay? Another thing that's going to be challenging here is the distributive property, okay? Those two things are going to be challenging, but just make sure we follow along and we'll be all right, okay? So with that being said, we're going to try to continue here. I'm going to shift my camera a little bit this way so you can see a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Okay. Take your time. freeze this whenever you want to make sure you stay caught up in your notebook. Okay? Solving two-step equations. But remember, we might do more than two. So I guess we can change that to solving multi-step. Multi-step equations. Okay? So, the first one we're going to do is number one. Okay? Number one. Now to do number one, remember that we're going to use those rules on the previous page, on the previous slide. Okay? Steps 1, steps 2. So if we have an equation side, and then on the left-hand side, we can combine some stuff over here. We can combine like terms. Okay? Like terms means what two things are similar. Okay? So we can look at this is a number, integer, and a variable. This is a integer and a variable. Right? These are called like terms because they have a coefficient of 8 and then an x as a variable, a coefficient of 3, and then the variable is x. Because these two are like terms, we can combine them. That's called combining like terms. So when we combine like terms, 8x minus 3x is 5x. Okay? I can't combine the 4 because the 4 is not the same as these guys in terms of it doesn't have a variable. Okay? We call that a constant. We call that an integer. It's just by itself. Okay? So we call that an integer and it doesn't have a variable, so we can't combine it. So what do? We just bring it down because we can't do anything with it. So we bring it down. Okay? I didn't change anything over here, so I bring down my 14. Okay? With this right here, now, again, it's isolate the variable. I want to get the variable on one side of the equal sign. So the goal is to get the x by itself. So how do I do that? Well, first of all, I want to move the 4 to this side. So what I do to one side is to subtract. Okay? I'm doing the inverse. How do I move the 4 over here? Right? It's positive 4. So what's the inverse of positive 4? Right? It's minus 4. So these cancel, right? That's 0. Those cancel. What happens on this side? 14 minus 4. What is that? Well, it's 10, right? It's 10. So I bring down the equal sign, right? I bring everything else down. What's left over here? Okay? It's my 5x. Everything else is gone. So I bring down the 5x. Okay? There it is. Now I'm getting closer, right? I'm getting closer, but I'm one step away for isolating the variable. I want to isolate the variable, and I'm one step away. In order to figure out what I got to do, I got to ask myself, what's happening to the variable? What's this operation? That's a multiplication operation, right? So what is the inverse of multiplication? Division. So to undo this operation, I divide. And we talked about that division, right? We've seen that symbol for division, okay? This is a symbol for division, okay? This is a symbol for division. For example, A divided by B, or A divided by B. So these are all symbols for division. Division symbol, this is a division symbol, this is a division symbol. Fractions are division expressions, right? They're division problems. So if this right here, I'm going to say we're going to divide both sides by 5. Okay? Divide both sides by 5. Okay? 5. 5 divided by 5 is just 1. It eliminates. Okay? So those eliminate, they divide out to be 1. Okay? So then 10 divided by 5. What's the answer? The answer is 2. Okay? So now this turns into 2. Okay? So now let's clean it up, right? It's looking kind of messy. So now the answer is x equals 2. Okay? X equals 2. Now, this is your answer. Okay? What you can do to check, you see if you got the right answer, x equals 2, is you can plug in your x value over here. So what I would have you do in our notes is to check and see if this is true, is you would plug in your x value there, right, and then your x value in there, okay? And you would check to see if it's a true statement, okay? See if it's true. Now I ran out of space, right? So I'm not going to do that. I will try to be, I'll try to use smaller writing over here, so we have room to plug it back in and then show if we got the right answer, okay? But right now though, this is the right answer, okay? This is the right answer. You know what? I think I do have enough space here. I'm going to go ahead and do it right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a box here just to kind of block it off, all that work. I'm going to put it here. So when I say 8, again, I'm going to plug in my x value. I solve for the x value, so I'm going to plug it in. $14. There it is. Okay? So if I plug in my x value, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write smaller because I'm not going to fit. I apologize. 8, 2, minus 3, 2, plus 4 equals 14. Okay, there we go. So if I do this correctly, it should give me the same value. The statement should hold true. The equal sign should make it a true statement. It should be a true statement. What I mean by true is, what's 8 times 2? 16. Okay. What's 3 times 2? Minus 3, right? It's going to be a minus 6. Okay. When you multiply a positive times a negative, you get it negative. So you get minus 6. Okay. And then you have plus 4 equals 14. Okay? So, with that, we combine like terms. 16 minus 6 is 10, right? What's still left over? The 4 equals 14. 10 plus 4. 10 plus 4 is 14. 14 equals 14. That is a true statement. If it is a true statement, that means that our x value is correct. So this is us checking our work to make sure we're doing it right, and that's how we solve for the variable. Okay? I hope that was helpful. We're going to try to do 17. Okay? Take a little while. If you want to try to pause it and then do it on your own, you're more than welcome to. So 17. We're going to use the distributive property. This means that whenever you have a number in front of a parentheses, that means that this is a multiplication symbol. Okay? This means that whatever's on the outside has to be multiplied to every single term on the inside. So then we ask ourselves, how many terms do we have on the inside? We have 2, which means that that 2 is going to distribute to every single term on the inside. Okay? This is called the distributor property. It happens whenever you have parentheses and you have an integer on the outside. Okay? And then we distribute it to the inside. So let's go ahead and do that. What's 2 times 3x? Right, what's 2 times 3? It's 6. Okay? And we have x there, right? So what's 2? So then the x also comes into play. So we have, right, 6x. Okay? 2 times 1. What is that? It's a positive. Right? Anything multiplied by 1 is just itself, right? So 2 times 1 is just 2. Then on the outside, what's still left over? We have a minus x. Okay? And again, on this side, what do we still have? We still have the 17. So we're going to bring down the equal sign. We're going to bring down the 17. Okay? Just like that. Now we're looking like we're over here, right? Now we got to clean this up. We got to combine like terms. And so we ask ourselves here, what terms are similar? Right? We have 6x and x. Those two are similar terms. Right? If they're similar, I mean, they're like terms. If they're like terms, then we combine them. So we combine 6x minus x. Okay? That's going to give us 5x. Okay? Because this x is negative, this is positive. So we have 5x. Again, what do I bring down? Everything else. I bring down the positive 2. I bring down the 17. Okay? Next step. We're getting closer. Again, the goal is to isolate the variable. I want to get x by itself. I can't combine these two. Okay? But notice that 17 and 2 are like terms. They're both integers with no variable attached. So somehow I gotta have to move this guy over there. And I ask myself, how do I do that? Well, I do that by doing the inverse. The inverse of plus 2 is minus 2. Okay? What do I do to one side? I do to the other. Okay, so minus 2. That cancels. It's 0. Over here, what do I get? 17 minus 2. That's 15, right? 15. 15 equals, I bring down the equal sign every single time. Bring down everything. Bring down the equal sign. What do I bring down next? Well, what's left over? My 5x. Okay? Notice as we go, we get cleaner. It gets, it looks smaller and smaller. We're almost there. We're one step away from solving for our variable. Then we got to ask ourselves, well, what's happening here? What mathematical operation is happening to my variable? Well, you can see that it's being multiplied by 5. Okay? It's being multiplied by 5. So what's the inverse of multiplication of 5? The inverse is division. So we divide both sides by 5. 5 divided by 5 is just 1. So that divides out. Okay? It divides out. We get rid of it. What's 15 divided by 5? 15 divided by 5 is 3. So then, my answer is x equals 3. And that's the correct answer. If you want to be 100% sure, this is a test, this is a quiz, what I would do if I were you is I would check your work. Because you want to make sure that you did it right. You want to make sure that you get the full points on the test. Okay? For time's sake and for video, this will be it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and do these two here. I will show them done on the, we'll just go ahead and do them. We have about 19 minutes in here. Again, feel free to pause this, take a break whenever you have a chance. I'm going to go ahead and do, that was number 2, I believe. Number 3 is here. You know what I'm going to do? This has already been 20 minutes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break it up. I'm going to make another video. We have some fractions going on, and I'll make another video explaining how to do number 3 and number 4. Okay? If you have any questions, just please comment.